Hey, good morning, YouTube. It's kind of a overcast, crappy morning. I'm going to do some woodworking for the bees this morning. Got the table or the miter saw set up over there right now to cut 16-inch boards. I've got 6 10-foot 2x6s. The 4 straight ones are out there on the truck. This is a little warped, not too bad. And there's one behind me here. The 2 that have got the warps in them, I'm going to cut into 16-inch lengths and then evenly space those on the 4 straight ones to make 2 10-foot hive stands. And once we get those painted up, we'll put them out in that front bee yard where all those 7 hives are sitting on whatever we could find to sit them on. There's tables out there, there's a hose reel, a couple of milk crates, whatever we could find to set them on, we sat them on. So we're going to get these new stands made. I'm not going to show cutting it because I'm afraid the saw sound might be too much for the camera and blow your ears out. So I'll cut these into 16-inch pieces, get the long boards marked, and I'll show you how I'm going to put them together then. And then after that, hopefully I will be making some medium boxes as well. So we'll start with these hive stands, and once these are done, we'll transition into how to make the boxes. Okay, I cut the boards. I got 7 16 inches out of each of the 10 footers plus those 2 6 or 8 inch pieces of leftover scrap. And then what I've done is, since I had 7, I've marked out both ends for a board, 5-foot center for a board, and then divided the difference and marked 20 inches from each, from the end and from the center on both sides to give me 7 spots. So I will mark the other 4 boards with these 7 marks, and we will nail the 16 inchers in between them. Okay, and here's what one of the completed stands look like. It's 10 foot long. We'll give that a coat of paint, and then I put those on top of the they're like a patio porch support block. We'll show that in a later video when I install these. So I'm going to take 2 10-footers of these. I have one 8-foot already in the back bee yard. I'm going to swap that out for one of these 10-footers because I've got 5 hives on it, and they're just a little too close together to work very well. We'll put the other 10-footer and the 8-footer out in the other bee yard out front, and we'll put 5 on one and the other rest of them on the 8-footer. So we'll finish the other one up and then look into making some boxes. Okay, now that both of those stands are built, I'm going to start making some medium boxes. So far we've used deeps with shallows, and decided to switch everything to medium over time. I can't think of the gentleman's name right now off the top of my head, but he suggested going all mediums, and he uses 8 frame instead of 10. We are going to stick with 10 frame. But as you get older, the hives get heavier. A full deep can weigh up to 100 pounds. I guess a full medium 10 frame can be about 60. So we're going to try our luck with the medium size. As I said, as we get older, they get heavier. So don't want to be fighting 100-pound boxes. And if you use all mediums, you have the ability to move frames wherever you need. You can move brood frame up into a honey super to get them to start building up there. It's easier to switch frames back and forth to any box anywhere you need because your frames are all the same size. So for the time being, we have mediums we have deeps and shallows, but those are slowly going to transition to all mediums, and we're going to start building all of our own boxes. The method I'm going to use is off of another YouTube channel. His gentleman's name is Scott Hendriks. He's a beekeeper up in Ontario, Canada. I like his design on these boxes, and I'm going to do my best to put a link to his channel in the description below so you can check his channel out. But what I need to do right now, the miter saw is set for 19 1/8. I need to cut 19 1/8 and also 16 5/8 lengths out of these 1 by I think 8s, and then a medium is 6 5/8 high. So once these are all cut to length, we'll set the table saw up to rip them down to 6 5/8, and then there's some router work on the ends of the shorter boards. So we've got 12-foot 1x8s. If I figured correctly, I can get 2 boxes out of one 12-foot board and have just a hair of waste. So we'll cut this first one up, 4 19 1/8 and 4 16 5/8, and we'll see if my calculations were correct. Okay, there's our boards cut, 19 1/8 and 16 5/8. Table saw is already set up at 6 5/8 to rip these to length, and there is my waste off of those 3 12-footers. So I guess my calculations were pretty doggone close. So we'll get these ripped down to 6 5/8, and we'll go from there. Nice thing about cutting them to length first is if there is a bad side, it's got a knot or a chip or something wrong with it, you can rip that off and selectively keep the good side. If you rip the length, or if you rip the width first, you're kind of stuck with just taking one side off. So if you've got bad on both corners, it's hard to fix it. So we'll get these down to width, and we'll go from there. Okay, those are all cut to length. There's my scrap from off the boards. Not good for a whole lot. I might be able to use these for closing entrances off, because I do use top entrances instead of bottom. So those would be kind of like an entrance reducer, but without the hole in it. And apparently the Doberman felt that she was there before I started cutting, and she wasn't going to move. So she's covered in sawdust. But now we'll get the router set up, and we'll cut the groove in the smaller board. Okay, we got the router all set up. We need to make a cut on the end of each of these boards, 3/8 deep by 3/4 deep. And after those are all cut, we'll reset the saw, and we'll make a cut on one end, or one side rather, that'll still be 3/8 deep, but it'll only be 5/8 instead of 3/4. 3/4 on this end is to allow the 19 1/8 piece to fit in for whatever joint you call that, lap joint or router, rabbit joint, whatever. And then this top one is for the frames to sit in, for the frame rest. So we'll get those cut and go from there. Okay, there's the finished product on the side boards. You've got, or the end boards rather. Got a 3/8 by 3/4 on each end, 3/8 by 5/8 on the top, and when it's all assembled, there's what it'll look like. So we'll just put some wood glue down these joints. I've heard that everybody seems to use Tight Bond 3, and we'll run probably 3 screws in the end of this into the side piece, and the frame will sit right down in this little rabbit here. So that's what a medium frame will look like. I've got enough cut here to make 6 of these. I do need to stop on the way to work today and get some screws, because I don't have that. But we'll get these put together, get them painted. I do need to do something for handles. He used leftover strips on the ends for handles. I mean, these are only maybe 3/4 thick, but I think those will actually work. So I might use these scrap pieces for my handles for now. If not, I might get a little bit thicker material for that. But that's the bee boxes to be built. I do know a couple things I need to do. I need to get some kind of dust collection, because the router clogged up real bad every cut. I had to keep my air hose and keep blowing the chips out of it. And I also need to get that router table mounted up on a little higher stand, because sitting on the garage floor cutting that is kind of a pain, and the long sides, it would actually start to slide the table across the floor a little bit. So that's a future project, get that router table mounted up higher and more sturdy, and come up with some kind of a dust collection. I could have just used a shop vac, but I know they clog, so I'll probably have to build some kind of a cyclone separator. So that might be a future video as well. But we'll end that there today. Those boxes will need to be put together and painted. Also, the hive stands will need painted. and we'll do a separate video on putting the hive stands out, and we'll show these, maybe in the end of that video, we'll show these boxes assembled and painted. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, thumbs up if you can. Any comments are always appreciated and welcome. Thanks for watching.